Welcome to another St. Pete by Night revamped production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the heart of night, we rise from shadows, howling at the moon, igniting our battles, cleansing dire of an endless fight, until our final days we will fight. Thanks, man, we stand united as one. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Everywhere we run, the wind is at our back. All the warm forces we will track. From the depths of the ocean to the clouds in the sky, vampires tremble as we learn to fight. Range across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Range across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Everywhere with the pack, let the night be our guide. In battles of honor, we shall never hide. We'll never hide.
Good evening and welcome to the St. Pete by Night Entertainment Network. St. Petersburg by Night is a World of Darkness role-playing community broadcasting from St. Petersburg, Florida. My name is Kent, also known as Kent on all social media, and I will be your storyteller tonight. And it's Tuesday night, and you know what that means. It's time for Rage Across Tampa, our Werewolf the Apocalypse 5th edition chronicle set in the city of Tampa Bay, Florida, where the Sept of the Evening Star is attempting to establish the new Guru Nation and combat the forces of the Worm. St. Pete by Night can be found on all of the social media you see listed down below in the description, and you can join our community by following that Discord link where you could take part in one of many activities that are happening all month long. Plus, we have some new tables starting soon, so you could find yourself having a seat at one of those tables. So join our community and get a chance to play in our world of darkness. So join our community very, very soon and find yourself at one of our tables. Of course, I couldn't tell this story alone. It would take some pretty incredible players to make it happen. So let's go ahead and meet those players now. Players, go ahead and introduce yourselves if you please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Champ, Champagne, Slut Brother, whatever you want to call me, and I'll be playing Aspen Wise, Docks of the Silverfang.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nori, not a girl, and I'll be playing Malicious Jester, Galliard of the Black Furies.
Hi everybody, I'm Walks, and I will be playing Lucas Shaw, Ragabash of the Shadow Lords, and this pack is better at things than just taking out the trash.
As the Bonar, I don't know how I feel about that, but hi everyone, I'm Preston. I play Jason Dreams and Decay, Thorn Theurge of the Bonar.
Well, Peck, last week we saw quite a bit happen. One, Aspen made a call up to Michigan to try and make some wheeling and dealing with the Sept up in Hell, Michigan, but she found a rather mixed reception from the Sept leader known as Red. At first, she was met with some hostility as the sept leader up there had a rather interesting feelings about the Guru nation. But then it turned to a more interesting, warm reception, and then it turned back to hostility. So while they said they would make a deal to try and procure some cold iron for the sept, they also made some rather interesting demands. This led to Aspen asking the Hellhounds to go and negotiate for the cold iron up in Michigan, which received an equally interesting response from the new pack, who originally came from Hell, Michigan, but had mixed feelings about their previous sept. Lucas and Stakes also attempted to approach Larry, the kin, about his eventual change, and he also had mixed feelings about the whole thing, originally feeling interested in it, but then becoming quickly apprehensive, knowing about the change that how it would affect his life, how it would affect his future, how it would make things less than normal moving forward. And he seemed very resistant to the concept, eventually asking to be left alone and possibly even fleeing the idea of it all, which prompted Stakes to tell Lucas to keep eyes on him, but to give him space and time to process the whole ordeal. And then Jester and Chloe had some time to have a little bit of normalcy, but to also discuss everything that's been happening. Jester having found out that she has a long-lost sister in Juniper of the Hellhounds, who is not only blood-related, but also a relative in Guru, a fellow Black Fury, and a half-sister by birth, related through a father that she never knew as she was adopted. This and many other revelations came to light that she was able to process with her best friend of many, many, many years. She also came to learn that Chloe had started seeing somebody by the name of Danielle, a rogue gardener who had been establishing some gardens throughout the city. Now, longtime viewers of Rage Across Tampa would know that Danielle has a connection with somebody in the pack, that connection being Lucas. But that has yet to be discovered by either of our pack members. That will be found out in time, I'm sure. And then finally, in last week's episode, Jason came to learn quite a bit as he decided to go rogue in his own way and leave the cairn on a little bit of a walkabout, only to be followed by some strange individuals and then intercepted by a young man he came to learn was Ravi, a person he encountered in the dreaming, except he was inhabiting the body of a young 13-year-old boy with blonde hair, completely different than the individual he had encountered in the dreaming. He then came to learn that there was a group of changeling refugees that had been taking up refuge in a bomb shelter far outside of town. And why had they been taking up refuge? Well, it was because of him, Jason, except it wasn't his own efforts of his own doing. It was because of the staff and the individual who inhabited the staff, a being known as Ishu, who had been possessing Jason's body when Jason was asleep and had been leading these changeling refugees to this bomb shelter as they had been fleeing an individual known as Balor and had been taking refuge to get away from this Balor entity. With all of this information, Jason, trying to comprehend the fact that he was giving over his body to this being known as Ishu, who had previously been possessing Moses through the staff, he agreed to help these changeling, these fae, these refugees, but he would have to tell his pack. So he returned to the sept to pass along the information. But before he had a chance to, Aspen at the law firm received a phone call with a very, very intriguing and dangerous invitation from Edward Baitman saying that they needed to meet, and she agreed. So, our session begins at the Sept with the pack meeting to discuss all of these new revelations, all of this new information that has since come to light. So, let us begin. It is a very, very late afternoon into early evening. Aspen, you've called the pack together, but it seems like everyone has arrived at the cairn with their own information to bring to the table. But Aspen, with your desperation with this new information, with Edward Baitman's call, you know that there are pressing matters to be discussed. So with Aspen, Jester, Lucas, Jason, Artie, Charles, and Eliza all gathered at the hand-carved wooden table, the crocheted runner laid out along the center of the table. Everyone taking their seats. The scene is yours.
Aspen will adjust in her seat as everybody gets together. Well, first off, how is everyone?
Tired.
Good, all things considered.
Both of what they said.
Well, good. I know there's a lot that we've been working on as of late, and I have a few things that I want to bring up. But before then, does anybody have anything they'd like to bring to the table?
Yeah. Come into some new information about the foe that we're dealing with. So I have a name of the person that we're dealing with, and I have figured out some allies to help us with such the endeavor that we're taking on. Along with those who might be staying at the cairn. I might be walking around. But it's not me. What I'm about to say, just hear me out on this aspect, and you'll look to Aspen. I know what you're going to say after I'm done, and we can talk about that. One night, I was tired of sitting here, and I went for a little ride. Went downtown. It's not that I dislike being here. It's I'm a man of the city, and I need the heartbeat of the city, and I've been cooped up too long. I came to be followed by someone, but when getting to a public place to try and lose them, they sat down next to me and told me everything was in place. Once they realized that I wasn't this person, they left. I then followed them to find out what exactly was going on. Come to find a person that I had come in contact with previously was in this alleyway. Young 13-year-old child. And this 19-year-old guy, I got into a van with them. Hold on.
At this point, Charles has grown very tense and is frowning very, very deeply.
When we got to before we even got to our destination, I was able to find out more of what's going on. He'll take the staff off and set it on the table. This is more than what Lucas and Eliza and I have discovered. This is a conduit to allow a protection over me. Everything that goes on with this ailment, this pollen that I breathed in and it's taking over, the same effects I have here in the cairn, I have when I have the staff. There is a trade-off with me being able to use my abilities outside the cairn is that I will be possessed by someone else and my body will be helping others who are in need of the person who possesses the staff.
Hold on. Jester, who had at this point had taken out a notebook and was writing or starting to take notes. So, when it protects you, you get possessed?
I have the protection all times when the staff is with me. He'll turn it to the ward symbol. This one here keeps things out. This one prevents things from getting in. When I was able to hear things or the yellowing would happen, this one allows that to, basically it's a wall. It stops it from happening. It's how different warding works. They'll turn to the key. This one works for more than just unlocking something. Lucas, when you and I looked at it, we thought it opened a door. Yes, and more. It's a way to allow the power of the staff to move through. It allows the possession to also occur, but it also allows for the ward to work. These people that I've found are ones that the Guru used to be in close relations with, but something called me. Look towards Eliza. The sundering happened. I don't know, but we fell out with them. Something that we just wouldn't work together anymore. But these people, they go through reincarnations. I know this sounds nuts, but they have been through this time and time again over the duration of history. There are a group that are being attacked. These people are the ones that are being ripped and put into their essence, for an example, are what's making the plants happen. That's what it is. There's the person we are actually going up against is this guy named Balor. Now, Balor from old Irish folklore is this Fomorian. And are you guys familiar with Fomori are? Am I saying words that you guys understand? Okay. This guy basically is like the ruler of them. He manipulates them further. He's what takes Banes and gets him to that point. The overall cold iron that we are discovering, yes, it'll work on the plants and things like that, but it's not going to work for the end of this. It will have no effect. Now, our tooth and claw will aid in this, and we have clave wielders, and I'm sure that will be beneficial as well. But there's a guy on the other side, a spiritual being that is controlling all this. It's making this happen. That's allowing these plants to have these banes take and attach together. And these people are struggling. They're being hunted by Valor. And they've asked for our help.
Okay. Okay. So I just want to make sure I understand everything.
Yep.
You left.
Right.
You talked to children.
Who are not sure, but yes,
Got into a van.
correct.
Listened to these children tell you about old folklore, correct? That's correct.
Yep.
Okay. And now you're saying that this plant situation we have is some folkloric fae creature?
Yep. Aspen, the information that I have gathered has come from a place that no other guru. The reason I knew about these different things is I was able to go to a place that no other guru had been in I don't know how long. It's a place called the Dreaming. The first guru to go and have this happen. And there's a guy there named Ravi who had me walk the silver path, who showed me where the spirit, the lost spirit, is.
Listen, I believe you. We're vampires, or we're werewolves. There's vampires. I'm sure that there's probably other things out there. I'm not that delusional. But you're saying that these fae, this evil fae person?
Kind of. They're a Fomorian. They're where Banes start out as, like how a Bane, overall the corruption that happens and slowly breaks someone down to become a Fomori. There's this person named Balor that's the start of it.
And you're saying we can fight this being. That's what these people are asking you to do, is to fight this.
Correct. They also said that if we aid in taking on Balor, they'll help get the spirit back over. Like they'll allow because the dreaming's hard enough to get into, and I was only able to get into it once. They said they will help for me to go back over and bring the spirit back to us.
I thought Banes were corrupted worm spirits, like of the worm. Are you saying this Balor is like a worm? Like, I'm confused.
I had never heard of Balor till a few weeks ago, and just the small research that I've been able to do on it, yes, in a sense, you could classify them as part of the worm. They corrupt, they break down, they destroy, things along those lines. I wish I had all the answers. I really do. But this information that I got is bits and pieces of a much bigger puzzle.
I think we have to take perspective and interpretation in account into this too. There might be something lost in translation. But
Could be.
I think the overall message is clear. Jason, do you trust them? Honestly.
To an extent. They haven't led me wrong yet, and they allowed me into the dreaming. They brought me there. They showed me the things that I've been looking for, the lost. They took me to this area. Now, the entire time, granted, he'll point to the little thing on the staff. I know I'm being tracked this whole time. So I told them that I wouldn't show you guys where they're at because they want complete discretion. But yes, I do trust them. There's no reason I shouldn't. And them bringing up things from the past with other guru and that we used to work together, there's things I need to look into further. I don't know what the sundering is. I don't know what broke our overall relationship, but they talk to me like we have a connection that's just severed.
Aspen is going to look over to Jester and just kind of give a look, and then look over to Eliza. Does any of this make sense?
Eliza has been contemplative, to say the least, this entire time, her brow slightly furrowed. Well, there's a lot to unpack here, of course, and a lot that will require more study on my part, but I do believe everything that Jason is saying, and I have no reason to doubt it. There are many things in this world that we still don't understand as Guru. Many things that we can't completely understand. Just as we are part wolf, part human, and part spirit, so too can there be other entities in this world that share spiritual entities. Just as wraiths, for example, could potentially cross over from the Shadowlands to possess other beings, so too could these beings cross over from, for example, the Dreaming, and perhaps possess the bodies of humans as well. Perhaps even share bodies. Now, if it's true that they are Fae, or some version of Fae, maybe even born into human bodies in the same way that we are born into human bodies as part spirit, then maybe there's something to this. And to say that Valor, or whatever it's called, draws upon the same energy or the same being as Fomori, there could be something to it. As Lucas says, perspective is a very real possibility. What they call Banes or Fomori could just be the same thing as what we call Banes. It's just a matter of how they view it, what they've called it all this time. As for the Sundering, I cannot say I've heard of it in my teachings, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. I hadn't heard of Turtle or this long-lost tribe, but it's very real and very true, as we are uncovering. Guru have been around a very long time, as we're discovering possibly since the creation of the world. So this sundering could have happened a millennia ago, many millennia ago. And these beings, these Fae, they could be ageless. So what could be a time that we can't comprehend could be a blink of an eye for them. What they can remember, we could possibly not comprehend. So I can't say that it isn't possible and that it isn't real. However, this does call into question what we can do about it and how much impact we can have. But it also does bring more information to play. If the Fae are involved, that does strengthen our ability to do something about it. That does bring to light the more importance of cold iron in this regard. It proves our theory about it. And it shows the involvement of Fae in what Pentex is doing. It answers that question. It is not beings from the Shadowlands that are assisting in what Pentex is doing, but it is beings from the Dreaming.
Okay. And, well, what about the possession of it all?
That is another matter. Fae, at least as far as folklore is concerned, are notoriously tricky and are notoriously untrustworthy. They will do what is best for them, always. What will benefit them, always. And yes, while this deal does seem beneficial to us, it is beneficial to us in the short term. They are doing it out of self-preservation, it seems. That is their immediate goal. But what they are gaining in the long term is a great deal of intelligence about us, is access to us. What this individual does while possessing Jason's body, we can't even know the full effects of. The fact that they can breach the spiritual barriers of this cairn at night with seemingly no hindrance whatsoever gives me a great deal of pause and concern. Whatever entity has that ability must be very powerful indeed. Which means that we are meddling with forces, great forces, strong and powerful forces. On the other hand, it is buying us time with Jason, and it is preventing him from being infected. Further, it is protecting him. And it is giving us a solution for Turtle in the long term, possibly. Sorry, Lucas, please.
We tried to replicate what's on that staff for our own uses, and I couldn't even begin to tell you how it works. That's stuff I've never seen. No matter what, I couldn't get it to work. So whatever made that staff, exactly what Eliza's saying, it's astronomically beyond what we're capable of. So.
How do you feel about all this, Jace? The possession.
At first, violated, but I understand where they're coming from. They're at a point where they're using drastic measures just to make it. In a way, the way they worded it is an exchange. They provide protection for me, so that way the infection that is inside me is nullified. The payoff that they take from that is they get to use my body while I'm sleeping. So while I'm awake, the person that takes over is elsewhere. But as soon as I go to sleep, if they are in need of my body, they take over and they go do what they need to do. And then when they go to sleep or when they're done, they come back and then I awake. So overall, I'm torn. I feel myself when I have the staff. I don't have those effects anymore. I don't have to be constantly looking over my shoulder as much. I don't have weird voices will happen sometimes, but nothing like that. Do I wish that they had talked to me previously? Sure. But what's done is done, and someone's needing my help. And nothing against what's needed to be done here, but I felt like my hands have been tied as of late, being stuck here. So knowing that I have been able to help somebody is helpful for my peace of mind.
Okay.
Speaking of peace of mind, Aspen, Jace agreed to have a tracker put on the staff. So you can look at that in one of two ways. One, we never really had eyes off of him. We always knew where he was going. And if there is any transference of what he knows to whatever the entity is that's possessing him, they didn't remove the tracker either. And if there's not, then they're not aware of the tracker. So either way, we still have an advantage of keeping track of him.
Okay. I will say probably still not the greatest idea to go off by yourself, and you should be taking somebody else with you, especially if you're going to get thrown into unmarked vans or what have you. But I would say if you think that they're trustworthy, then I will extend that trust as well. But I do want to heed Eliza's warning that they are potentially tricky, and how far they'll take this possession or this help. I would like you to let us all know things that you find out.
I can be as transparent as I can about it. They're in need of help, like a lot of help. I told them that I would be the bridge, if need be, between us and them. I can try and arrange a sit down. Now they're very, very shy. Like the reason that they even approached me the way I was out there is because I'm normally accompanied by others. That's why they don't come and interact with me otherwise. They said I'm always accompanied by someone. And because of the way that they're so on edge about everything, they're not sure who to trust. But I can see what I can do. If you'd like to meet them just to kind of put a face with what's going on, I can try and get that set up, but I can't guarantee anything.
It's a delicate process, but if we can make it happen, I'd prefer it. If they know where we are, it'd be nice if we all knew where they were.
What about meeting the entity that's possessing you?
I don't see why not. When I'm asleep, they take over and I have no idea what's going on. So if you want to meet them, I just have to be asleep. I don't know if I can just bring him out or anything like that, because the possession happens from the staff. They're not necessarily inside me. It's when I have the staff with me is when it happens. And the way it was described is if I gave the staff to any of you, they could use basically that mark, that key, to get and possess any of you. But it was given to me because of a trust, a understanding that happened.
I'm just sounds like from your story, these people are working for this entity or serving this entity, so like talking to them would be good, but like talking to the actual one in charge would probably be better. But
That's fair.
I think that would be, I guess, if you're willing to allow us to talk to it, I guess, mostly.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that at all. They call him Father. And the guy I talked to, his name's Ravi, and from what I understand, he has been through multiple reincarnations, and I confirmed that it's actual reincarnations, not just a name being passed on through generation, because I thought maybe that's what it could have been. But no, they've been through this several times, and kind of like how our first change happens, it's kind of like that for them. When they don't know that they've been reincarnated until something just happens, and then they have all this memory, I guess, rush forward. And then they're aware of what's happened, but they have no real control of it until that just happens. They have no one to teach them also, from what Ravi was saying.
At this point, Charles speaks up. I appreciate everyone's positive spin on this, but this is a massive security breach for the Cairn and the Sept. They've been evasive and deceptive through this entire process. They refuse to tell us where they are. And yes, it is nice that we have this tracker to give us information, but they aren't willing to share. But they know more about us than we know about them, due to the fact that they can just show up here anytime they want to. And they can say it was a matter of trust, but if they trusted, they would have told you and given you the choice to take on this possession. Instead, they tricked you into taking. I don't trust this one bit. A sob story and a staff. Very convenient.
You have points. It's honestly why I brought up speaking to this entity itself and not just the people. Because I feel like confronting them about it would be better than just talking to this other group.
I personally think both would be beneficial. I think, of course, talking to the one in the staff is a great idea, Jester, but I think we should also talk to the others. That way we have a better idea of what's going on and what they're doing and what they're up to. Because it seems like their leader is only around when Jason is asleep. So they've been moving around even without him. I also agree with you, Charles. The breach is very problematic, but it's already been done. How do we move forward from here? There's a couple of options in my head. We take away the staff, which leaves Jason vulnerable, and if it is true that it's helping him outside of the cairn, I don't know how much longer we keep Jason here and it becomes like torture. The other option is we push forward what Eliza had proposed a while ago, a much more spiritual, dangerous way of fixing Jason.
Jace, did they describe what this Baylor looks like at all?
Yeah, kind of. He'll turn the staff, he'll point at the eye, like, all right, so that's Valor. He's this big eye. And that's kind of the biggest thing about it. He just got this piercing eye. Point to the little creatures running, and that's them running away from him. He uses them and manipulates them, corrupts them further for his own gains. But as far as his, Yeah, kinda.
They tell you what color his eye is?
I don't believe that was disclosed, no. Why?
I think that there's a possibility that I might have already spoken to this Balor during
Huh?
Luis's God, exorcism is the best word I could use in that scenario. When me and Eliza went to go give her the solution, it went. I think that's the best way if we're going to do that again, and I don't think that that is on a wide scale something that we can do, because I'm sure the people cleaning up the room after that were not happy. But regardless, first, I'm pretty sure Vanessa manifested herself using Luis. And I had some not so kind words to share with her. And she seemed to possibly have lost her concentration. Small victory there for me. And then something dramatically changed. And Luis's eyes lit up. One green and one exceptionally bright red. And her voice dropped 5 or 6 octaves. And whatever was speaking through her said, "You can save one, but you can't save them all." And that one didn't seem to be fazed by me at all. Then it went away, and long story short, Louisa's recovering. She's doing better. So, victory there. Solution worked, but it was messy and it was scary. And if that is a sign, doing something more dangerous with you is going to be rough, Jace. It's going to be really, really rough. I just wanted to add some context.
So what's the solution?
Well, Eliza speaks up. To take it a step back, Bala in folklore was not represented in the same way Sauron was, but to connect it, yes, Bala was represented by a red eye. Much like a cyclops in the folklore, they were a large giant with horns like a demon and a large singular red eye in the center of their head. Now, is this the form they take in truth? Not necessarily, but in the folklore, that is what they believed to be seen as. And in their symbology, it seems, the eye still stands and is the most memorable feature.
Are we literally dealing with something from folklore?
We are from folklore, technically, aren't we?
This
Okay.
whole table is pretty much folklore.
Okay, hold on. Werewolves are from folklore, but they are a group. We're talking about something that's like a god
Well,
in folklore.
Yeah.
it is a subsect of a piece of folklore, and if it is grouped in with Fey folklore, then theoretically yes, but one could say it's like combining Dracula with leeches. Maybe there's some truth to it, but maybe it has been over-exaggerated for the purposes of mortals, for the purposes of humans, beyond their comprehension, and therefore exaggerated beyond the truth. Could it be real? Certainly. Could it be as bad as is said? Maybe not. It's bad because humans can't comprehend it. But is it impossible? Not necessarily. But we'll need to learn more for sure.
Okay. Well, let's also circle back to the potential security breach problem, and if the crazy Rite exorcism is out of the question and taking away the staff is out of the question, how do we rectify this breach, Charles?
Well, there are a few possibilities. One, Jace doesn't stay at the cairn as long as he possesses the staff. But that also means we would have to have watches for if he were to return. Whether it's him or whatever is possessing him. I don't like that option. Because he is still one of us, he should still be protected, and he will still need use of the cairn as our theurge. I don't believe the Rite is out of the question. Is it dangerous? Certainly. But if we can cure him, to remove the use of the staff as the only means of moving forward, I think that is our best bet. So that the staff isn't necessary. But also having allies in the fight to come isn't a bad thing either. But I don't like the fact that they can decide to be inside our cairn at any given moment. Yes, it's happened already, but that doesn't mean it should continue to happen whenever they see fit.
I think a conversation needs to be had with this entity and clear boundaries laid out
Yeah.
if we're
that's
wanting
what
to
I
work
think,
with
too.
it.
Yeah, I agree with Jester. Because
Are you-
we have to think about it like this. If we do this right and we clear Jason, he doesn't have the staff anymore, did we just cut them completely off from their very clear leader? What direction do they move in then?
I mean, it sounds like whoever has the staff would be possessed by this entity, but then again, that's like giving it to somebody that they don't know what they're getting into, and like it's a real strong lack of consent. So
Are you going to trust any boundaries this thing agrees to? It didn't give us consent, it didn't give us a choice. It just took what it wanted.
They've been receptive once boundaries have been set. They seem like they understand overall what's going on, but they're just taking drastic measures for the current situation. I agree. What's going on with the Karen is a security breach. While I'm awake, it seems they have no control over the possessing whoever has the staff. Like whoever's possessing, as long as you're awake, they can't do anything. So yes, I agree that the conversation should be done, but I can stay outside the cairn. I can come in while I'm awake. I just gotta make sure I don't fall asleep here, which that's easily rectified. I just drink a lot of coffee before I come here anyways.
Someone left that staff for you, right, Jace?
Yep.
And it was there, you saw it, and you chose to pick it up.
Correct. Oh, another thing. Eliza, can you do something for me?
Of course, Jace.
You'll hold the staff. Just look at this on the umbral side and tell me what you see. If you could just help me out here.
She closes her eyes, focuses for a moment, and then opens it.
Does it look normal to you? Does it look like things are on the other side? Does it look exactly like it does here?
No. I mean, it looks... It's only an object on this side.
When Artie was helping me with the whole bar thing, he lent me the glasses. This staff looks exactly the same to me as on this side and the other. There's no difference between the two.
So you're saying that it exists on both sides?
Correct.
Well, as you said, it's a key.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps because you are possessing said key, it exists on both sides to you. But that is because you are possessing it. As I am not possessing it, nor is anyone else, we do not see it as such.
Okay.
That is the only explanation I can truly comprehend. I mean, I do have the ability to reach through the Umbra were I on the other side and bring it to the Umbra, but I do not see it as existing in the Umbra currently.
Okay. That already tried looking, and we were I didn't understand what was going on, and nothing against Artie. He didn't either. So
No, I believe you are experiencing as the possessor something different than what we are all experiencing.
thank you. That helps a little bit.
Could also be, as this dreaming, as we've spoken about previously, exists as a almost parallel but different dimension of the Umbra, that it is not quite the Umbra you are seeing it in, but somewhere else. A different area entirely. Maybe perhaps you are even seeing into the dreaming itself through the staff. A small section of it. And that's where it exists. Not the Umbra, but the dreaming.
All right. Aspen, what do you want me to do?
Well, we definitely need to meet your friend, your wizard. I don't know. But until that time, as Charles said, and as Charles being the warder, it's probably best that you don't sleep here, don't stay here. But it would be probably best to have somebody keeping an eye. That's where I'm conflicted, because within the cairn, Lucas and Eliza are here. Outside of the cairn, not so much.
would it be helpful if I got additional cameras set up at the split helm? Already at that point would have access to them at all times. So while I'm there, he can look into it. Not saying he has to watch 24/7. Like, if it gets a little weird, Jester knows there's some instances that happen, but it's pretty low key.
I don't believe it would be best for you to be anywhere by yourself if this Balor entity is in fact hunting you or them. Not to mention Pentex. And if you were to be without the staff even for a moment, you become susceptible.
Right.
Just because this is protecting you from the infection, it doesn't mean the infection isn't growing, isn't spreading. It's just protecting you from the effects of it, as far as we know.
Kind of like a drug that masks the symptoms but doesn't fix the actual disease.
Artie speaks up, or a signal blocker. Maybe he's cut off from the hive mind, but not stopping the virus.
How do you feel about couches, Jason?
I'm not impartial to them.
Look over to Artie.
Yeah, he could stay with us, but I don't know if I could stop him if some god fae takes over and decides they want to leave.
But we could keep a better track on him with Regina so we can all get in contact and get to where we need to go in case things go sideways.
Yeah, that works for me.
But look,
Okay.
Charles, there is an extra bedroom.
Yes, but we both have responsibilities that take us away from home far too often,
Fair.
especially at night.
Well, good. Then that'll be the temporary solution. You get to be a roommate, and we'll keep an eye on you. We'll talk to the entity, and we'll move from there. And maybe have a longer conversation about this Rite with Eliza.
Okay.
Eliza
Okay.
looks over towards Jace. I know this is a lot, but also, I can't say I'm not a little jealous. You are blazing a very interesting trail for Theurges.
There's parts of this that are fun, I won't lie to you. About 20%. The other 80 sucks.
Just make sure to write things down, because that first relaying of information was a lot of word vomit that was very hard to parse.
Try hearing it from people who don't speak English as their first language.
Maybe bring a tape recorder or something.
Yeah, can I just know it? I'll just have one on me. I'll just carry one.
Did the van say free candy or free hugs?
Hey, shut the
Got it.
fuck up, all right?
Just asking. Seems like a pertinent question.
If it had slushies on it, you'd be all over it.
You're not wrong.
I mean, it was kind of funny that the adult was kidnapped by children in a van.
I literally brought that up to them. I was like, isn't this weird? But then they brought up it'd be weird if it was the other way around, which that was a fair point if I was trying to get them into the van with me. So
So they have a sense of
Okay.
humor. It's a good start.
yeah.
All right. Well, we've got Jason. The first thing that we've talked about is solved. for now, temporarily. Did anybody else have something they wanted to bring to the table? I know, Lucas, briefly you talked about Louise, so it sounds like she's recovering, which is great.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I gave you most of the story. It was rough, but it looks like she's going to pull through the other side. And like I said, it worked. But if our fears about the extent of the infection throughout that many people is true, the way that we did it is not going to be a feasible solution. It's too much. And if anything, it's a breach of the litany to the nth degree. It's going to breach everything. It's going to crack everything wide open. So, on a case by case, yeah, but we need to explore some other options.
Not to mention the physical toll it'll take on the body. We were lucky that Louise was a healthy and stout individual. If this were to happen to somebody with pre-existing conditions or of a more frail constitution, they would not survive the transition. It would most likely mean the death of them.
She's a fighter.
With the connections that are happening between the plants and the possessions that seem to be going on, if we were to take out the person causing or the thing causing the possessions, that connection's no longer there. So whatever could be causing that could stop that altogether. Kind of like if it is like a hive mind, you take out the queen, there's nothing else telling them what to do.
And everyone else usually dies.
Well, that sure. I was thinking silver lining kind of thing, but that too.
That's assuming that the link being severed would mean that just the infection itself would die and not the hosts as well.
Right.
But that is also a possibility, yes. But we can't say for certain, because that would also mean that even just you having that staff would be like the link being severed. And while the fact that you haven't died is a good sign, you also weren't far into the infection. We got to it fairly early. And you are Guru, not human.
It's fair.
Just because you killed a gardener doesn't mean the weeds stop growing.
Plus, we don't know what happens if they're untended. Maybe perhaps because they're controlled, they're not as bad as they could be if they were just let to grow free.
Yeah, that's my concern too. And even if we take her out, there's the secondary, as you know, Aspen brought up, we have to kill a god. So, you know, complications.
You know, you guys stood up to a greater spirit once. Next step up.
Anyway, we'll figure that out as we get more information. I feel like there's still a lot to understand, and I think that starts with talking to the entity and a group. Anyways, but I do understand that on a greater scale, this isn't feasible.
Artie nervously kind of clears his throat. And then he looks to Jester and then looks to Aspen. I have some information. It is circumstantial at best, but it is pretty specific. And roads are pointing towards potential problems in the future if we don't keep an eye on them. So I've been obviously doing a lot of research as of late. A lot of individuals have been coming to me with questions. My return has been in high demand, apparently, technologically speaking, and from a therapist point of view, which I'm happy to provide my services. I'm really glad to be back. But that also means skeletons are coming out of closets, and a lot is being revealed. I was asked by a member of the young pack to look into a suspicious death of their family. Delphine, the Theurge of the Hellhounds, her parents were killed shortly before their departure from Michigan. They had been employees of Pentex, or at least a Pentex subsidiary, pretty far down the chain, but they were in a management position. Now, it's possible it could have been an inside job by the company. It's possible. There's a lot of possibilities with things like this. Pentex does these kinds of things all the time, especially if they're not happy with the way business is going. You fuck up in that kind of business, you're never heard from again. It's very kind of Chuckles Mafia in that way. But in doing the research, she really wanted answers, and so I started looking deeper into the crime and the specific instances of that night. It was reported as a gas leak at the house, and all of the surface evidence seemed to point to the fact that were true. An explosion caused the house to go up in flames. Everything seemed to look that way. However, as I looked more into it, there were no signs of mechanical malfunctions. All inspections that were previous to the event passed. All appliances were up to code. All pipes were up to code. Everything. Nothing seemed to point towards anything that would lead to a mechanical malfunction. And in fact, the gas supply showed that there was a sudden increase right before the event, which told me that somebody turned on the gas at full blast right before the explosion, which leads to sabotage, which leads to murder. In doing so, I started to look outwards before and after the event to surrounding camera footage. I found something. I found a familiar face on the footage. Juniper was spotted near the scene less than an hour before and after the event. Now, in further digging, I found out that Delphine's parents both worked for high-quality builders. Or at least had a law firm that had some dealings with high-quality builders. Now, I've had some time to think about this, and theoretically, and from a litany perspective, no crime was committed here. But from a internal perspective, this could lead to problems, especially if an issue arises. I believe that the pack should deal with this, and that this is their business. But I think we should keep an eye on it. But it's circumstantial, like I said, but it is pretty damning. And I think it's
Yes,
no
sir.
secret that she has a personal vendetta against high-quality builders.
To further complicate things, was going to say something about this. Artie also did some digging for Juniper, and it turns out that Juniper is my half-sister. We share a father who apparently worked for the mafia here before turning state's evidence and moving to Michigan. Before he moved, he had a girlfriend, they had a child, me, they put her up for adoption when he turned state's evidence. Yeah.
I, I beg your finest fucking pardon on this, but you and Juniper are related. And you and Juniper have links to the mob here.
Apparently.
What family?
Yes, that family, Lucas. In fact, their father is one of the key witnesses that was responsible for the fall of that family.
That is a giant bag of angry cats.
Yeah.
Are you happy about the news?
I was, but now, and confused. I mean, it was already complicated. Now it's more complicated, and I mean, her parents were killed by people with high collar billers. I get the need and the spiraling. And maybe I can help her, but this is kind of new and I don't really know how to deal with it, honestly.
You're gonna do great.
Nah, thanks.
You already have that sister vibe that you do to the rest of us, so you'll do fine.
Ah, cool.
Jester, I need you to be real careful around her. I did get a chance to talk to her several weeks ago, and she has been helping me build things, and she more or less told me the story about what happened to her parents. And I asked her a very pointed question about getting her revenge. And look, my hands aren't clean in the least sense of the word, but the look on her face when she talked about getting her revenge was not healthy. It didn't seem like remorse. It didn't seem like she was doing something she was forced to do. It looked like she was very pleasurably happy about what she did. So, tiptoe through this real careful.
Okay.
Now, I will say, this all happened before they came here, and I have seen progress. I have seen growth. I talked to Juniper when she learned about Jester being her sister. I talked to her since. I see potential for growth. I see potential for change. She has something to look forward to. When she found out she had family, I saw something switch in her head and in her heart. It's like a part of her came back to life. She didn't think she had family left, and now she does. But now with this new information coming to light, I don't know what effect that's going to have on things. I have talked to Delphine. I have told her to practice empathy, to consider what happened, if she knew about the parents or not. She might not have known that it was her parents. Might have just known it was somebody at High Quality Builders that had something to do with her case. But I think my advice, and he looks to Aspen, would be that we tell Stakes at the very least, especially if they're going on this trip, because they will be out of our reach.
I completely agree. I think there's a potential for, well, things blowing up astronomically, regardless of if you knew that it was somebody's parents or not. Now you're housed together in a room, knowing that the person you sleep next to every day killed people you loved. So I could see how that would be really problematic, and somebody's going to have to be there when everything comes to a head.
I agree.
What about telling Ray? He's the pack leader. I mean, I know Stakes is their mentor, but like, if you look at it from your position, Aspen, you'd want to know, right? If there was a potential between us.
I would absolutely want to know if someone was willing to tell me. I think Ray should know, but I think we bring that to Stakes. She's closer to them. She knows them best. And they're not the way we are now, or, you know, sometimes worse than the way we were when we first got together. So I don't know what that brings for them, and Stakes would know if Ray knowing would be a benefit or a huge flaw.
Okay.
Delphine also is perfectly within her rights to bring a challenge to the table. That is something we need to think about also.
Certainly. But I'd rather it's handled that way than...
Yeah. Agree. Ideally, absolutely agree. That's the formal way of doing it, but...
But also,
God.
Delphine's well aware that she is not physically capable of taking on Juniper. And if she were to issue a challenge, Juniper
know
would
how
be
that
able to
goes.
dictate the terms. But all the cards on the table, this is the issues they're currently dealing with. And that will be coming up likely sooner rather than later.
And now that they're not going to be in the state soon enough, because I've asked Ray to get the pack and to go down to Hell to look into the potential of trade between Hell, Michigan, and here because of the iron mines up there. I know we talked about thrifting and things like that, but much better to get from the source if we can manage that. And there's a large mine up there, and they're not too far away. They're closer than us, by all means. So hopefully if we can get them to facilitate that. I was sending Eliza's formula for the cure when it came to Louise. It's a bit of a bargaining chip from our side. So hopefully that goes well, but them not being here definitely makes sense why Stakes would need to know, and potentially Ray as well. Well, actually, now that I think about it, it might be best to tell Ray, because he would be the one, if there were to be a challenge, that would have to facilitate that as their Philodox and their pack leader.
Perhaps you and I can arrange a meeting with Ray and Stakes together. Tell them.
Absolutely.
If he's got any questions on challenges, just give him my phone number.
I will.
I can assist from a distance. Speaking of other types of family, first contact in our way has been made with Larry. It went. Not horrible. Not great. He just needs some time. He doesn't know the specifics. He knows he's different. He knows that he's like us. Doesn't know what that means yet. We didn't get that far. But he's processing. I think that's the best word for it. So that one's going to take some time.
Well, I'm glad he has you to walk him through those steps.
He's got me in stakes, but I got the nose on him, so I know where he goes. I know where he's at. So things get troublesome, I'll be able to find him quickly. So that is on its way, moving in a direction.
Good. Keep an eye on him. It's a lot to go through. I mean, we all did it. We know how much it sucks, so.
Yeah.
But on a cheerier note, Jester is getting a job. Talk to Matthias. He's going to get her into a journalism position at the newspaper so that she can start her journalism career and get some information out to the public in other ways, because obviously Jester's lovely at doing the social media thing, so she's going to be even better at doing the journalism thing.
Don't worry, Jace. I don't think it's gonna cut much into bartending as well. Though with you out of the cairn and able to do stuff, you'll be able to help with or tend your own bar more. Actually be at it.
It would it would be nice to get back in there. 2 bartenders increases profit value, but I want you to chase your dream. So if this is something you want to do, that's right. Just know the checks will stop. I won't be paying you if you're not going to be there.
I said as well.
Oh,
Like-
okay. I'm just saying, if it gets in the way, just let me know.
Get one of those hats with the little note card in it that says press.
Yeah, okay.
Get you one of those.
Some fun stories there, that's for sure.
Oh, there's been some interesting ones.
Aspen smiles, but kind of looks down at her hands, starts wringing them together, looks over to Charles and then Jester. Did you want to speak about what you found at the apartments?
Yeah.
Charles looks towards Jester. Go ahead.
So we went back to the apartments that High Quality Builders was redoing, I guess. There's now a fence, a metal fence around it with a guard shack and a guard. Bushes are still there. Also, there on top of the buildings, each of the buildings, there was 2 snipers or sentries. And while we were looking, Bateman came out. He had an attaché and several guards, and he got into an SUV, and then 2 more SUVs joined them, and they drove to the private landing of the airport. We weren't able to go farther without being noticed, really.
So, as we'd initially suspected, they had repurposed those apartments for their proximity to the airports. But apparently it was for the leeches. It also makes sense why they put the bushes there. It is very, very secure, to say the least.
So a gate, a gate, metal fence, and then sentries on top. What are this all for that one guy?
At least, if not several other leeches. There are the two buildings, most likely vehicles on the ground, as we saw when they were leaving. There were already individuals and other vehicles that were parked nearby in the parking lot. So they likely have guards stationed and vehicles on the ground, as well as the sentries up top.
He usually travels with a mix of other leeches and thralls with him. Given what Leon had when we caught him, they probably have armor and silver bullets, as well as the bushes that have silver lining in them and are able to create long tendrils to try to reach out and swipe or attack us when we go near it.
This brings to a conclusion, though, the association between the leeches and Pentex.
They cut a deal.
Yes.
If you'll look towards Aspen and then Charles, you need eyes for the other side. If you guys are wanting to try and take care of that, just let me know. I can make my way over and let you guys know what I see, or come with. That'd be preferred on my end, having you both there.
We'll see what happens moving forward. Because to that point, I received a call from Baitman. He would like to meet.
Pencil in Jester's hand will snap.
I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, what she said. About what?
Not sure. I got a call. He said he'd like to meet on neutral ground to discuss some things. Now, I could stupidly assume that it's for a lawyer-to-lawyer meeting, but I doubt that's true.
Is there any such thing as neutral ground in this city?
No.
Especially with these plants?
I don't believe so. I don't believe anywhere is safe or, as he said, neutral. I can do my best to find a place where it's secure enough, but not a place where he would try something stupid. But that's where we're at.
He's letting you decide the location.
Yes.
About safe and symbolic. The loading docks. He used to own them, now we do. It's the last place Bloody Mary ever set foot on land. And not to be too many plants there.
I worry that may be too public. There were a lot of security moving around when you all did your excursion to look in.
There's also a potential to get surrounded. They could stage themselves beneath the water's surface and we wouldn't even know. That is an advantage they have over us. At least on land, we'd be able to see them. Or smell them. But it is a good suggestion, symbolically. Why now?
That's what I'm hoping to find out. I think I mulled it over, back and forth, over and over. Look over to Jester.
Just
Sure.
staring intently at you.
And I think turning it down, I understand the risk that comes with it, but I understand the benefit of at least knowing what they know, at least hearing what information. He wouldn't come to me for no reason. He obviously he has something. So if I could at least get some information out of what he wants, what he's needing, what he's trying to get from us, then at least I know something more than I knew before. He's
We
been
just learned-
underground for so long.
But if we just connected, like confirmed working with Pentex, what if this is a strike to take out the pack leader, the sept leader? What if it's a whole ploy to get you by yourself to do this meeting and you're done?
I think he knows where I work. He knows when I work late. He knows, I'm sure, routes that I take at this point. If he really wanted to know, he could take me out. It's not really his MO. He'd probably send somebody else for that, to be completely honest, like he's done before.
Could also be, though, that they want you to come out so that they can follow you back here. They don't know where this place is. At least we assume.
We assume.
Or manipulate your mind.
He's tried before.
What were the terms?
Neutral ground, my choosing. He won't do anything if I don't. He won't act out of turn if I don't. We only spoke briefly. There wasn't contract, obviously, but
From someone who's learned to take a shithead's word at face value, I think it's worth a shot, but you're going to need a fast way in and a fast way out in case shit goes south. And someone that understands what a hit looks like. So I'm going to.
As far as we know, we have a few advantages we can still make use of. As of New Year's, we believe he didn't recognize you in your current appearance, Jester. Having done previous business dealings with him, he didn't seem to be aware of my existence. And he's never known of Jason. I think we should keep it that way for as long as we can. If you are set on this, then the rest of us will monitor from a distance and be prepared to provide cover and escape if things go badly. If you think this is the best course of action, then all we can do is make preparations.
I think we need to know. Lucas, if you want to come, he can manipulate your mind. Honestly, he probably will try. And I can't help with that.
It's fair. Well, I think he's gonna have to be fast if he wants to do that. He said no funny business. If he breaks that rule, then we break our rules.
I agree. Then I guess it's settled. I think we should find somewhere where it's easy to have Artie be an eye in the sky, so to speak.
Well, there are a few possibilities, but it's going to have to be near downtown if I'm going to be of any use to you. It can't be anywhere remote where internet access is spotty. Definitely not anywhere out here, even though that is more advantageous to us. But there are some locations that are near the edges of downtown, more residential friendly than business friendly. There's actually a pretty ideal place that is people centric but provides some meeting spaces that could be private, but if you need to, you can disappear into a crowd. And knowing them, they don't like to do things in front of people just as bad as we don't. However, it also means that you need to keep your composure as best as possible too, which you have always been good at. But he looks to Lucas. You also need to make sure you do. And if I know him, he's going to make sure there's a no weapons policy, and he's going to do everything he can to make sure that's the case. But there's the Armature Works. It's got a bunch of conference rooms for rent on the upper level, but the bottom level is a open market. There are food stalls, people constantly moving through there. It's by the Riverwalk, so if you need to escape into a crowd, there are people nearby, but it's also butting up against a residential zone, so you could escape into neighborhoods instead of being stuck in business traffic and a metropolitan area. You'd be able to get away into more residential streets.
Traffic won't be a huge problem on the bike.
So there are plenty of getaway paths. It's a large building. And yeah, you'd have a lot of eyes on you when you're not in the conference room. You set the meeting for just after dusk. It would be before most of the buildings start to close up, or most of the businesses start to close up, depending on how long the meeting runs.
And maybe after all is said and done, I'll get you a cheeseburger, Lucas.
Tacos.
It's a good second option.
Yeah, tacos.
Take the cheeseburger. Watching
Get you a
cameras is
cheese-
hard work.
I'll get everybody food. It'll be fine.
Sold.
Okay, I'll start setting up the cameras. I'll book the conference room, and I'll get everything set for it as best as I can.
Okay.
With him not knowing who I am, do you want me around or just kind of sit this one out?
I think you having the staff, you being okay to be out and about, you're part of the pack, and if most of the rest of the pack is coming, you should come too. I don't think you should be super close, of course. But I think going with Jester would be a smart idea.
Okay.
I have
If I'm-
several spots picked out already near that area where we can set up a bike with Jester, a bike with you, and I'll have my car. We'll stake out locations nearby.
Efficient.
If I'm close enough, I have a way to tap into almost a heartbeat of the city. I can hear things going on. Try and see if I hear anything going on outside of the room you're in.
Okay. I think that be helpful. That way you along with Artie can get information out.
Okay.
Jess, you good with this?
It's not much of a choice, is there? Maybe you can figure out what he's doing for them.
That's what I want. I just want information that we could use. He's taken enough from us, Jess.
I know.
One step at a time. First, the plants. As the pack begins preparations for the upcoming meeting with Baitman, we will go to break for a few minutes and come back with the second half of tonight's story. See you shortly. Welcome back. In the first half, we saw the pack come together for a much needed gathering to discuss all of the happenings that have been going on within the city of Tampa over the past few weeks, and to discuss an upcoming meeting with Edward Baitman. But in the days following, before the meeting with Edward Baitman, Jester, you head to meet with Bruce, the president of the bikers, because in your mind, ever since Bruce has learned the truth of what the Guru are, the truth of what Ryder was, you've wanted to tell him a truth of your own, the truth of what happened to Ryder, the truth of Ryder's death. So, as you arrive at the biker bar, sitting on the bike outside the long, rectangular, black painted building, the windows boarded over, you see that there are a few bikes parked outside, but for the most part, it's early enough in the day that it hasn't gotten too crowded yet. You've been here enough times that you can kind of make out whose bikes are here. You can tell who's in attendance based off of the vehicles. You've been a regular for the past year, that you almost feel like this is sort of a home away from home at times. Maybe it's just the residual memories from Ryder's possession, but maybe it's also just been a refuge for you at times when you've needed it most, at times when you felt lost and alone. Maybe this has been a third family to you, while the Guru have been your second family, moving up to your first family, since your adoptive family was there for you for a time. The bikers have been something else. And Bruce, he deserves the truth, because he has been loyal to the Guru, even when you've given him every reason not to. So as you look at the bikes parked there, you can see Ricky's bike, and you can imagine his large frame sitting atop it, making it look like a tricycle more than a bike. Because even though it's a large bike of its own, he is even larger. And then you see Bruce's massive Harley Davidson, which is like a tank when it's at the front. The bike of a president, the bike of a leader. Very similar to the one you ride, which belonged to Ryder. As you scan the few others that are there, there is a notable absence. One that would be easily overlooked because it's a starter bike. A bike that is in early days, a hand-me-down. But due to its absence, it stands out. Larry's bike isn't here. And that stands out because it's always here. Not a day goes by that Larry misses a shift at the bar. You'd be surprised that he doesn't live here with how much time he spends there. From sunup to sundown, he's usually the first one there, the last one to leave. His dedication to the place has given him keys. That's how trusted he is, even though he is still just a prospect. But he's not here. So as you dismount your motorcycle, head to the front door, pulling open the heavy iron door, you're greeted by Ricky with a big, meaty wave and a toothy smile. Looking over to behind the bar, you see nobody is there. Nobody's working, nobody's cleaning. In In fact, anybody who wants a drink seems to have to serve themselves, which is uncomfortable and a little off-putting. But everybody who is present is going about their business. You called ahead, telling Bruce you wanted to meet. So as you head towards the back garage, heading through the side door, the garage is empty. Nobody's going to be working on bikes today. It's business time. And Bruce makes sure that when there is a conversation to be had, especially with a member of the Guru, the garage is closed. No one is going to be working, because that is a very, very strong need for privacy. So you walk into the garage with the equipment cages lining the wall, the workbench on the far side, the folding table in the middle of the large concrete floor with the folding chairs around it, the large ashtray in the center of the table. And Bruce, large and muscular, his short-cropped, military cut, black flat top and goatee, well manicured and trimming his square jaw, his marine tattoo on his large bicep forearm, sitting at the table, his eyes focused on you as you enter the door. Jester.
Hey,
Good to see you.
Bruce.
Come in. Have a seat.
Let's step in.
You wanted to meet?
Yeah. First of all, how are you doing after learning everything?
Won't lie, it took a few days, but you've had a feeling for a while that things were more than you expected. And when you've seen what I've seen, you learn to process things quickly. It's the military way. You have
Fair.
to be able to expect the unexpected. Be ready for anything. So, I suppose you could say I'm over it. Ready to move on to the next steps. Speaking of which, I think it's time for a change around here. Lucas and I have been talking, and coming up here soon, I think we're going to be making some moves.
Lucas mentioned something about that. Actually, is the stain still there, Kent? The blood stain?
Yes.
I'll glance over it and then take a deep breath. I wanted to come and tell you what really happened with Ryder's death.
He looks down at the ashtray for a moment. All right.
Some things to keep in context, or for context. Bloody Mary. The one you may not have known about, but he was always chasing after. She murdered everybody he cared about.
Ryder was always very tight-lipped about his past. Didn't like to get into it, but I'd see him looking at photos from time to time. I knew he must have lost some people. Most of us have at one time or another.
For him, it was everything. But I think he, in a way, found a new family with you guys, so he did go on. Were you part of the mission that we went on first together with the power plant?
I was leading one of the other teams, yes.
Okay.
I wasn't part of the infiltration team, if that's what you mean.
I think that was mostly us. We knew we saw some of the demolitions he had and told him we didn't want that, but he did it behind our backs. And it happened, and I was part of a environmental activist group that didn't do really terrorism, honestly. We were more on the vocal side, trying to expose secrets of corporations that were hurting the environment. I'd had them look into information on the power plant. And after the explosion, the leeches responsible traced it back to them, labeled me a terrorist, had them thrown into prison. I was pretty pissed and upset.
Catch me up again. Leeches?
Vampires.
Oh. Right.
A lot of this is a back and forth. All of this is a back and forth fight between us and the vampires here. At least what's going on here. I was pretty pissed at Ryder for the longest, but the night it happened, I didn't come. I came to try to bury a hatchet in a way both he and I understood. Then he talked me into breaking into the prison and getting my friends out. So we went. Unless you guys break people out of prisons with prison buses often, he'd been planning this. Because he had a prison bus.
We had contingency plans.
Okay. Well, he had guard uniforms and a prison bus, and we broke in, and I managed to talk us through the main area into the back. And we found them. But we weren't able to subdue some guards before a gun went off, and it caught the attention of everybody else. The alarms went off, and that's when Bloody Mary showed up. She is a vampire, was a vampire, and one of the strongest of them. We were in the solitary confinement section. Ryder pushed me into the doors where several of my friends were and locked the door on me. Like he hit the alarm button, and so he faced her alone. while I was breaking down a wall and helping my friends escape, he and her were fighting. I don't know how much Aspen or Lucas explained, but we're part spirit. I know it's strange to understand, but sometimes we can see things beyond what average people can see. And the spirits of his family, his friends, joined him in the fight. She took his arm and broke the sword he had using her, but he cut her arm and managed to chase her off. He was able to flee the prison, and I found him on the street when I was going back for him. But he died because she'd stabbed him with part of the broken blade, the silver part. And silver kills us.
I remember in the days following that particular job, there was the blackout that was caused from that plane going down. It was a lot bigger than we expected it to be. That was pretty bad, but I know that what bothered Ryder the most was when he saw the news. Saw that those kids were getting blamed for it all. In fact, I can't say I'd seen him that mad in a long time. His garage was a mess after that. In fact, I'm pretty sure if you look behind one of the cages, you'd still see the cracks in the cement. Say what you will about Ryder. He never wanted anyone to take the fall for the things he did. He would always put his name on his actions.
I know. We reconciled. I know who's really responsible for that. It was also a lesson for me that vampires will use whoever or whatever they can to get ahead, to survive. They'll use it against us. And these changes being made will put you guys in danger. But I'm going to try my damnedest to protect you.
Well, I don't know all about vampires and spirits and any of that shit. But I can tell you that no one was going to stop Ryder from doing what he thought was right or making good on a mistake. So whether you went with him or no, he was going to go in there.
Probably.
And we were going to help him no matter what, because he's our brother. And because he thought so highly of you, high enough of you that he was willing to die. I think it's silly that you aren't one of us. If nothing else, because in his memory. So when we make this change, I think you should be there for it. And I think you should join us to honor him. Because if he can't be here to stand with us, to see this new chapter, you should. Give his sacrifice more meaning. Not that it didn't mean enough already.
I'd be honored.
Good. Thank you for telling me. A lot of it doesn't make sense. Especially when you started talking about spirits. You lost me there, but I know he had a lot of pain in his past. But I'm glad to see that he fought to the very end. And he died doing the right thing. He was
Honored.
very angry. And I know he did a lot of things that he regretted.
Ryder was broken because of what happened. But in that moment, he was able to heal. And he was able to regain the honor he had lost. And for us, honor is a huge thing.
He's got it. And so do you.
Thanks. That means a lot.
Can't say that we are ready to fight vampires, but don't worry about us. We're pretty sturdy.
Oh yeah. No, you don't need to. There are other ways to help.
Good. We'll move forward with this transition. We'll patch you in. I know some of the boys aren't going to like it, but this family's been falling apart for a while. Some of the other chapters have been getting into some business we're not so fond of, and what you werewolves are doing, that seems to be the more important fight. while we don't get all furry and claws and teeth, there's other things we can do.
Absolutely. Oh, and I know werewolves because you're still trying to process, but we do prefer Garu. It's just we'll just stick with werewolves for now. It's fine. It's fine.
I'll try to figure that out.
Okay. Is Larry okay?
Think so. Called in sick a few days ago. Said he needed a few days. Didn't ask questions. Kid's always been good. Never called off sick before, so gave him all the time he needed.
Okay.
Should I be worried?
Nah, it's okay. I'm sure it'll be all right.
All right. Well, that being said, someone's got to stock the fridge. Willing to lend a hand?
Yeah.
Let's get to it then. He pushes himself up off the folding chair, starts moving towards the cooler, gives you a clap on the back with a heavy hand as he gets to work. What's going through your mind after this conversation with Bruce and the invitation to join the new brotherhood of bikers that's to come?
There's like, it is an honor, and especially when he said that it would be honoring Ryder, it kind of clicked. I still have a couple doubts. I really don't want the same thing to happen to Sinnoh happen to these bikers or anything similar, but maybe being here more and patched in, I can help protect them more from that. I am, even though I said it's okay, a little worried about Larry because I'm not sure if it's the news Lucas gave him that's affecting him, or there is a possibility he could have come in contact with one of the plants. Like, anybody saying they're sick or anything just starts to send me into a slight concern about it. So I'm making a mental note, maybe to have Lucas or myself just check up on him. But all in all, I feel good about it. I feel there's a weight kind of that's hung around when I wasn't able to tell them the truth of what happened. Because to Ryder, after he'd lost everything, these people were another family for him.
So with that weight off your shoulders, you get a new weight on your hands because you realize just what it means to not have Larry at the club for several days, as you see the backlog of work that has accrued with him not being present. And you set to work for the next several hours assisting Bruce in getting the fridge back in order as it has fallen into disarray over several days of not being organized and upkept. But with that, we transition to our next scene. Jace, you have come into a great deal of knowledge and information, and it has been kind of a flurry and a mess in your mind. But of all the people you could talk to, there's one who can help you sort it out better than any. And while you had a guide back home who taught you what it was to be a theurge, who taught you what it was to be Guru, you've found a new mentor in Tampa, in Eliza Ross. An unexpected mentor, being that she is a Stargazer, something that you were always told to not trust, something that you were always told to be wary of, but someone who has been by your side, especially in this sickness that you've been experiencing, someone who has been constantly and diligently working to find a cure, to make you better, to soothe these symptoms. And with this new journey into learning about Turtle, she has been with you the whole way. What has been your feelings and thoughts in regards to Eliza on this journey? And have you felt like it's changed since your first arrival here to now?
The overall feeling to Eliza, starting off, he was playing nice. He saw Stargazer as another form of secrets, like what things do they hold? What knowledges that are basically forbidden for the group culture to what does she offer? But it turned into something more. The person Eliza was something he wasn't expecting because, yeah, stargazers you're not supposed to associate with. You see them and you push them off to the side. He was expecting her to be cold and harsh and not want to be any part of what Jace needed because he is nation. But what he got was this warm embrace, always willing to help. His weird cockamamie ideas of how the world works and how he comes across these different things, she was always been there to very receptive to all of it. And he, in the middle of it, was trying to figure out if she was playing a game, because that's what Jace does. He uses different things that people have to get his own ends to his means. But now he just sees that Eliza is just a overall good person. She might have her own agendas, but she makes sure they align with the betterment of the pack. She always takes in account people's feelings, and that's kind of weird, especially coming from Columbus and being part of the nation. That's people there are very more strict on the rules, and this has been an adjustment for him, trying to figure out where his place is. But with Eliza, he can be more of himself. He can ask those questions he used to ask at his original pack, at that sept. Comfortability is something that he feels with her that he doesn't quite have with the rest of them.
So as you are in one of the RVs, you see that there are books stacked all around a floor mat that Eliza seems to be sitting on, a large pillow that she's laid on the floor of the RV. And there are several books, many of them checked out from one of the local libraries, including a worn old copy of Midsummer Night's Dream, a old Gaelic folklore book with a section of it opened to Balor specifically, as well as several old, books and tomes and novels, all just kind of splayed out open, some of them open to specific sections, others just stacked up, waiting to be thumbed through. She has been hard at study, as have you, the staff having been laid out. There's also several pages that seem to have been printed out from Artie that have been splayed out based off of the scans he did on the staff. Most of them very unhelpful based off of the fact that the staff has held many, many secrets, and a lot of the articles that he's been able to come up with or the things he's found on the internet have been theories or guesses or completely down different side paths that seem to lead in strange directions that are not very relevant, but he provided the information regardless. Eliza pauses in her readings, closing one of the books and setting it off to the side. And she looks over towards you. Jace, why did you take the staff?
That's a good question. At first, I grabbed it because I thought the guy who had it accidentally left it. So I grabbed it, ran out to try and give it back to him, which was odd because he doesn't really forget anything. And he was just gone. So for a bit, I just figured I'd hold on to it. But I've been curious about this staff since I met the guy. he always had it with him, and he'll kind of like point to all these different markings and the stories that it holds, and he always had it so close to him. And there were times where he'd let me look at it, and I don't know. At first, it was just kind of a keeping it safe kind of thing, and then I don't know, almost felt drawn to it, I guess, in a way. Like comfort came from it because it came from someone that one of the first people I met here. I couldn't interact with any of you for a while till I got the okay from Rat. So I had only a few people I could really talk to, other than like the few vagrants that were wandering around the warehouse before it became the bar. So I got to know Moses, is the guy. I got to know him really, really well. He challenged my thought process on how I saw the world. I guess this is just a way of me keeping a little piece of it. But now come to find out that the guy I was talking to wasn't necessarily Moses. It was this other guy. But Moses himself, he's lost though. When I was at the bar with Artie, he didn't remember me. He broke into the bar. He tried stealing some food and some drinks. Was able to bring him in, but the man has no recollection of me at all. All the time that I spent with him, all the different conversations, nothing.
You think it's due to the possession?
I think it has to do with a part of it. I think with the age that is Moses had a harder toll on him, and that possession being lifted, I guess, just made him forget.
I think you're not giving him enough credit. Why did he choose your establishment? Why did he break into your place? How would he know there was food there? It's a warehouse, right? On the docks? Why there?
Yeah.
Why specifically there? There are plenty of places you can break into, plenty of places you can take food from, but he came to you. Now, I could be completely off base. I've never experienced anything like that before, but I have let spirits inhabit me before. I have let them speak through me. And while I was not fully present every time for the experience, a part of me was still there. A part of me still retained a sense of what occurred. Even a little bit.
So you think a little piece of him?
I think there could be some recognition. Something drew him to you. No matter how long this entity inhabited him, there must have been something that connected, something that made it seem familiar. I wouldn't give up on him just yet. Wouldn't give up on the belief that there's something there. And maybe with patience, maybe with time, maybe that bond will strengthen again.
Yeah. But my I guess a weakness, a strength is people, especially when they have nothing to help themselves, I feel I feel like I have an obligation to help them because I was in a similar place that they were in, and I can't help myself when it comes to that,
That's why Rat chose you.
among other things. But yeah, I'm sure that was up there.
Makes sense. Say what you will about Rat, but I have always gotten along with him. I appreciate his way of doing things, and he's a good conversationalist. A great
Yeah.
gamesman.
He also likes to speak in riddles, and he likes to talk in circles. Even when you're like, let's cut through the hedges, he creates more and makes them taller.
That's how you survive as a rodent.
It is, yeah. The thing is that one of the things he told me before coming down here is even a lone rat can drive a grown wolf wild. Well, poke at the silver fangs, I'm sure.
Truer words have never been spoken.
No, he's been very helpful, especially on my way down here. He was a constant constant spirit that was with me, kind of helping me drive to where I needed to get down here. Took a couple detours, but that's because I got bored.
Understandable. It is quite a journey from where you came from, and there are a great many things to see along the way. And life isn't about the destination, it is about the journey.
Yeah. Well, you asked me a good question. Do you mind if I ask you one?
Please.
Why do you care so much about people in general? I have my reason. Mine's from childhood. But why you?
I spent a great many years not caring. When I thought all was lost, when I thought I had lost the last things I cared about. Because I had. I was empty. There was nothing inside of me. And what is life when you're empty?
Meaningless.
Exactly. What is existence? Existing is not worth it. To just exist is to be a vessel waiting to be taken control of. It's like to be a glass holding no fluid. It has no purpose. I care because caring gives me purpose. I care because this pack gave me something to care about. Them. The fight. It reminded me why everything matters. And it reminded me that not caring was a disservice to what I had lost. Continuing to exist and continuing to care was my way of honoring what I had lost, what I had given up, what I had sacrificed. All those that had come before. If I gave up, what was the point? I might as well have just joined them. And don't get me wrong, there were times I wanted to. But I knew that if I did that, I wouldn't join them. That's not the way it works. So why do I care? Because he would want me to. And because they deserve it. They deserve nothing less. For all that they did for me, for all that they've sacrificed, how could I not?
You know, when I heard that a Stargazer was here, that part of the nation just started flooding my brain. But you're not what I expected.
Let me tell you something about stargazers that the nation hasn't told you.
Enlighten me.
Stargazers are about balance. Balance takes many forms. One of the reasons that we're looked down upon is because we walked away. Yes. We walked away because of the fight that was taking place at the time that we did walk away. It was too brutal, too harsh, too aggressive. We wanted peace. We wanted tranquility. We wanted another way. It was demanding the destruction, only destruction of the worm. But we knew there was no end to that fight. It couldn't be done. Balance needed to be restored. We saw the shattering of the nation coming. We just got there faster than the rest of them did. And yes, some of our brethren fell because of it. Some walked away and gave up. I eventually fell to that myself. It's a hard thing to walk away from everything you've dedicated your entire life to, especially when no one else walks with you, or very few, because you feel alone. But now, there's another balance to be restored. The balance has shifted to caring and not caring. I care because there are so many that don't. I'm back in the fight because there are very many fighting for different reasons in different places that have forgotten what the fight is for, forgotten what the fight is. That balance must be restored, and this pack, this sept, this new nation understands the fight again. Understands that it's not about the destruction of the worm. They're starting to understand that it's about restoring the balance. That's a fight I can believe in.
As a theurge, as you know, it's easier for us to understand that form of balance, but there are other auspices that have a hard time understanding that. We have to have all three. We can't have two. We can't just have one. Lucas has brought that to my attention a few times. He brought up asking about the worm and if the worm is all bad and if the worm itself is fully corrupted and things along those lines. Good questions. So, no, I agree. This pack does see balance needs to be restored.
If we destroy the worm, we become the worm. That's
Destroy
just
the one that
truth of it.
destroys. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Eliza, when it change the subject a little, when it comes to going and entering the dreaming, I know that you abandoned your name when you changed over. But dreams of Gaia, dreams in Gaia would be a huge boon if you came over there with me.
I would be honored.
The Silver Path is a weird one. Something about the mist. Don't go in it. So
We can cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's worry about where we are
Yeah.
now.
yeah, okay. But yeah, I think you'll love it. It is getting to that point. I see that you are deep in study.
Well, that being said, I had a question for you.
Yeah.
I know that there has been some apprehension about your treatment, and I know that while the pack seems okay with the idea of you keeping the staff, and they're talking about letting you stay off the can for the time being, I still think it would be best to follow through with the treatment regardless. We don't know how long this shield will last. We don't know if it'll even exist. We don't know anything about it. We're told that this staff is, endless, but it's not something with any kind of proof. And I do agree with Charles. We can't trust it. I want to throw my faith into it, but everything I'm reading about Faye, trust is a hard thing to offer, especially higher and more powerful Faye, which this entity seems to be. That being said, if the staff were to fail, or if they were to take possession of it, because they want their leader in their possession for some reason or another, we need to ensure that you won't fall prey to the infection again. So while I'm not looking to take it from you or to have it go away, and I do believe we should continue down this path of seeking an alliance with these individuals, I do believe we should treat you as well, just to ensure that you can still have your capabilities should this staff or anything happen to it.
I see the logic in what you're saying.
The only reason you kept it was because we believed it was our only way to the dreaming. Now it's not, if what we're being told is true.
Correct.
So there's no reason to keep it.
Would you want to perform it here in the cairn?
I think it's the best place to do it, to be honest. I think we have more protections here than we had at the clinic when we treated Louise. And I think that this is going to be a spiritual beating. And you will mend faster here than you would there or anywhere else. Plus, as it is a rite, I will be able to draw upon greater energies here than I can outside the can.
Do you think it's going to work and this is what you advise, I have no reason not to trust you. I am apprehensive because from what it sounds like, it was awful. And I really don't want to go through that.
Well, that was a treatment using cold iron, which is what made it particularly awful. We were burning her from the inside out. This treatment would not be using cold iron. This would be quite literally bleeding you dry, replacing that blood as we go. We would be purging you both physically and spiritually, trying to purge any infection from your spiritual and physical form. That's why it's a lot more strenuous, and that's why only a guru could do it. I don't believe it could work for a human being. I don't believe their body could handle it. But will it work? I don't know. I believe it could. That's why I'm even offering it as a suggestion, but this is a first. We are in uncharted waters.
That seems to be a constant thing here.
Oh, we're talking about Fae,
Yeah.
which is something I have never encountered before.
Okay. Possible side effects. I'm being drained physically, which that has its own things. The guru aspect of that's going to help. The spiritual aspect of it, what's that going to affect as far as if we're trying to replenish as we're going through? But as a theurge, could I have that deeper connection between the spirits? If I'm being drained of that, what is going to happen afterwards?
The worst thing that could happen is you'll be put into a coma. I will be ravaging your spirit, not your connection to the spirits. Your spirit will mend and recover in time. It will regenerate just as your body will. I do not believe this will kill you. I do not believe it has the capability to do so because I am not looking to utterly destroy your body. I am just looking to drain it. That being said, worst case scenario, you will slip into a coma and it will take you a great deal of time to recover, meaning possibly days, maybe even weeks. But being within the can, your recovery should be steady and a lot swifter than outside the can. That, I believe, is the worst case scenario. Again, it won't sever your connection to the spirits. That can't be taken from you other than the infection having tainted it or blocked it. That is just your own talent. But it would be like having your mind torn apart and put back together.
You know, any other person, even back home, offered this, probably wouldn't go through with it. Some of the theurgy there are very strong. There's something about Mama Ross saying that, no, you got it.
I understand. And I wouldn't offer it if I didn't truly believe it was the only course of action. Watching what this has done to you, both here and on the other side, and having studied the effects it has taken on humans and dead flesh, it is like a plaque, a buildup, and it replaces what it covers. It grows and it just consumes and then replaces. If I can scrape off all of it from your body and mind and spirit, Luckily, you can regenerate. Humans cannot. That is why it has to be burned off. And that's why, unfortunately, the more frail won't be able to survive the attempt. And even the most stout and hardy will probably suffer effects most of their lives. It will be damaging. But you will recover. That is the beauty of what we are.
Okay. No, fine. All right. Let's do it.
All right. We have time still. Doesn't have to be immediately, but sooner rather than later. Because while this is a wonderful gift, and she kind of looks over the staff, we don't know the full extent of it. And putting all our faith in an object, well, there are plenty of stories of how that's a bad thing. The genie in the lamp, Pandora's box.
Yeah. Okay. No, I think it's overall from a logic standpoint, it makes the most sense. Get rid of the infection, because then I won't have to have the staff with me at all times, and my connection will be severed to them.
Right. We can talk about it with the rest of the sept if you'd like, or we can move forward. But
Sounds like they're already kind of on board for it.
and make what preparations you need to. As, again, if it goes poorly, I suspect for at least 3 or so weeks, you would be out of commission if it goes badly. But I have faith that it won't.
If it goes well, I don't have to stay on the pack leader's couch anymore. So, benefit.
That is true. And after those two have been separated for months, I'm sure it is
Yeah.
not the most, peaceful
Yep.
place to be staying at night.
I was thinking I wasn't going to say anything during the meeting, but when they're, yeah, you can stay. We have a couch, like,
It's a
I don't
studio
know.
apartment.
Cool, thin, no walls. Awesome. Nice room divider. Yay. Yeah, no, let's do it. Yeah, no, let's get it done. Like I say, if we need to, we could do it right now. But I'd rather be in a coma.
Gonna need more preparation than that.
Okay. All right.
It's the right decision. But I will get started on preparing so that we can get this done as soon as possible.
Okay. Have you ever taken on anything like Valor?
Yes. Something similar. Once. I can't say it's the same. Again, Fae are new to me. But I took on there was a child. A child that had been possessed by a very, very, very powerful Bane. I was tasked with exercising the Bane. And in the fight, it was a Bane of, well, hatred.
Oof.
Yes. The Bane had caused the child to murder her parents and her grandparents. Well, in the fight to exercise the Bane, I ended up killing the child. wasn't strong enough.
That's not on you. That Banes of hatred seep so deeply into the very fibers of a person. You have to pull those out. It's like running through a cactus and you have to pull out each individual piece. And it's not an easy process, even for the strongest of us. So don't take that on yourself.
I appreciate you saying that. But there was a moment when the Bane had subsisted, and I got to see that child. I got to see how scared, and how hurt, and how lonely they were. And I promised them that I would get them out of it. And I didn't.
I can see how that would sit with you for a bit.
I've come to terms with it. Don't worry. It is just a lesson. One of many. It's part of being an old guru. These lessons, they linger, but I've had many more since. And trust me, I'm very well, Jace. I have moved on.
Okay. Banes of guilt are a thing too, so I just wanted to make sure.
Believe me, I am well aware, and I fended off my fair share shortly after that.
I'm sure you did.
But you need not worry about me. That was all dealt with in the fall and the recovery since.
Perfect. Yeah. Just wanted to make sure. You know, everyone here brings up things a little bit. I'm like, we still doing good? Check on them. They seem okay though.
Everyone has their own stories and lessons that they are still learning, and based off that last meeting, there are still plenty coming to light, it seems, but that is why we are here. That is our task, and as theurges, we have to watch out for our own. And this new one, Delphine, she is going to be a particularly interesting case for us, but she has potential. We just have to work through it.
Baby steps with that one?
Very baby steps. Especially with this new news coming to light.
Yeah. A close eye on all of them, 'cause that can fester and spread very quickly.
Don't I know it? But you do what you do. Keep your ear to the ground. I will be the loving grandmother I have seemed to have taken the role of.
You do it so well, though. You literally brought me a glass of milk, so.
So it is.
But I'll help you, do the whole theurge thing and study, because that's fun.
There are some interesting tales in here, and you ever take an interest, I can teach you a language or two.
That might actually come in handy.
Gaelic is a particularly interesting one.
I don't know if I have the tongue for it, but I'm sure you can teach me.
At least how to read it.
Okay.
So as she picks up a tome and moves over to sit next to you, what's going through your mind after this conversation with Eliza?
Again, it's just this comfort that he feels with her, that there's no actual holding back. He can ask what he thinks are the dumb questions, the weird ideas that he has. There's something about Eliza that brings out that younger part of Jason that was shoved to the side when he got put into the foster care and he had to become someone else. He can almost bring out his true self with her.
We transition now to our final scene of the evening, where a meeting takes place between two very, very unlikely parties. Preparations have been made. Everybody is in position. The Armature Works is a repurposed plant that was once used for the trolley cars in Tampa. Now it's a place used for gathering, a marketplace, a place where small independent restaurateurs set up counter service shops, as well as artisans can display their wares. It's also a place where meetings can take place in many conference rooms, where Wi-Fi is available, where you can have internet cafes for people who can't necessarily afford such services at home. It's a place of business, a place of commerce, a community center, when such things are a thing of the past, but are coming back into style. It's right by the river, the Hillsborough River. It's on the edge of neighborhoods and the edge of business. There is a large parking lot that extends out into a dirt field of more parking, as during events, this place can get very, very crowded. They'll have musical concerts out by the river where there are large cement steps where people can gather. But on this particular evening, shortly after dusk, we find ourselves in one of the conference rooms. I'll give you a few moments to yourselves before you enter into the conference room, where you are to meet with Edward Baitman and his associate. Now, the arrangements were made that you could bring one fellow, and he would do the same. No weapons, as there would be a metal detector outside. And that he would pull no tricks as long as the agreement went both ways. But he agreed to your terms of the meeting place. The scene is yours as you stand outside the conference room.
Aspen will pull at her skirt, look over to Lucas. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm about as ready as I'm gonna get on this. So, what do we want out of this?
We're kind of going in blind. It depends on what he has to say, I think. I don't want to make any deals with the devil, we can say. But I want to know what he has to say. And at the very least, when we can, without being too obvious, push for more information, if it's possible. But he does have a way of getting in your head. And I don't just mean that with his thing, so.
Okay. All right. Well, 101 here. Always negotiate from a position of power and never walk away from a table less than what you showed up with.
Absolutely. And you're here to watch my back.
Yeah. And make his side of the negotiations harder than your side of the negotiations.
Right, obviously. You're great at that.
That's what I do. Okay, yeah, if shit goes south, you give me the word and we're out.
Okay, absolutely.
After you.
I will walk into the room. I don't know if it will come up, but just to throw it out there, I have pack instincts, so I am generally aware of the physical and mental well-being of all of my pack members, just in general. And then if I want, I can push farther for that. But just she's going to be hyper aware of all of that going into this meeting.
Okay. You can detect the location of Artie and Charles and Jester and Jace, all healthy, alert, aware, and in their locations. As you open the door to the conference room, inside there is a long oak wooden table, several black leather chairs on casters lined up, about 6 to a side. And in the center, too, on one side of the table, sit 2 individuals. One, a man in a very well-cut suit. His hair slicked back, his goatee manicured perfectly to the T. His piercing, icy eyes tracing, watching you as you enter. He rises from the table as Edward Baitman takes in both individuals. The other next to him couldn't be more opposite. Dressed in a zipped up hoodie and track pants is the most disgusting, ugly creature. Something out of every nightmare you could possibly imagine. If you could see every horror movie pertaining to vampires, this is it brought to life. Batwing ears, a gnarled face, withered, a nose that looks like it's broken and upturned. Almost immediately, without any kind of ability to resist, it sends chills up your spine. That's how horrifying it is to look upon. The gnarled figure doesn't stand, but remains seated. Bateman offers out a hand to both of you. Thank you for meeting me.
Aspen will reach out her hand and shake his hand.
As you
Nice to see you again.
grasp his hand, it's actually surprisingly warm to the touch. You can see that he actually has a pallor of pink to his skin. He gives you a gentle squeeze to your hand, professional, but not too firm or aggressive, unlike the last time the two of you met in person. He then extends his hand to Lucas.
Lucas will look at his hand for a second, look at him, look at the thing that's sitting down. And Lucas will just slowly pull out the chair and sit down.
Bateman will acknowledge before sitting. This is my associate, Mr. Masterson. Masterson just snorts. First, once again, I'd like to say thank you for meeting with me. I'm sure there was plenty of reason for pause and hesitation. After everything our two sides have been through, I would be hesitant as well, were I you. But I want to begin with an explanation. In all of our time together, in all of our time knowing one another, you have to understand that our side has a hierarchy. And until very recently, I was not the top of that hierarchy. In fact, thanks to you, now I am. And with that comes change. Change that could be very beneficial to us both. But there are still lingering issues that I have had to inherit because of my predecessors. And one of those issues affects us both. And I'm sure you are very aware of what that issue is, as it is quite literally sprouting up all around us. I seek to remedy the issue, but I can also wait it out. Can you say the same?
How do you seek to remedy this issue, Mr. Baitman?
When you've been around as long as I have, you have the ability to come into possession of a great many things. And modern ways have changed the way things are made. I'm fond of old relics. I have business interests abroad, particularly in the mining industry. You've been looking into mines recently, haven't you?
I have.
Why not skip the middleman? Why not skip them?
There will always be a middleman in this situation or otherwise. You would be the middleman, would you not?
I suppose so.
Say I entertain your proposal. What's in it for you?
Treaty. I happen to know a great deal about Chicago. My business associate spent a great deal of time there. My partner. What worked there can work here. Peace. The one who came before, he was reckless, lost his mind in his old age. Now he's gone, as was his loose cannon. You saw fit to that. Now we can have peace. I can control mine. You can control yours. It can be done. No more fighting in the streets. No more lawlessness. No more back and forth. And more importantly, no more Pentex.
What is your qualms with Pentex? You have similar goals, do you not?
No. Believe it or not, whatever you've been taught in your society, I'm not here to destroy the planet. I'm not here to eat up all of the valuable resources. Yes, I am here to succeed in business. Yes, I am here to thrive. And yes, I do enjoy a modicum of control.
correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Bateman, but it seems like you're here for power. And if there was a company or a position that had the power, you would want to work with them. And the fact that you were coming to me and trying to eradicate this problem with me when we've had no interaction but contention since our first meeting, why us? Why not work with them? That's your MO. I'm not speaking of your kind. I'm speaking of you specifically, Mr. Bateman.
Because they can't be controlled. Anyone who deals with them, especially my foolish predecessor, is making a literal deal with the devil. And the devil always wins. Look at what's happening to the city. Who can control this? What is there left to control once they're done?
You've worked with them in the past, correct?
My predecessor did. I was following orders.
And you stay in their buildings because
I have lost the upper hand with them. Again, I can wait it out. I'll be fine.
Can you?
how
Yes.
Can you? I've seen what the infection does to humans. That's your food source. There's
always
blight in the
another food
crops.
source. I can move. Humans are resilient.
Couple lines of code, we see what happens when that route is taken. We've been down that road. There's no trust in this room. None. Right? We have no reason to deal with you. We handled the last problem, but you're proposing the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Cut and dry. Right? That's what you want. You want us to do your dirty work for you. So my question is, if we do this, what are you providing to the situation?
Iron. You need it. I have it.
What did they do? How did you lose this upper hand?
They brought in reinforcements. Guests that they expected me to entertain. Let's just say you aren't the only wolves in town anymore. And if you know anything about your history, you know the last time they brought wolves to town, it was very, very bad for your people.
Last time there were wolves in town, you were also very, very bad for my people.
I'm offering a change. We can repeat history or we can avoid it.
In this treaty, you expect everyone to follow?
Of mine or yours?
Of yours.
If they don't, do with them what you will. Anyone foolish enough to pick a direct fight with your people deserves what they get.
Well,
My
there lies
fights.
the
Go ahead.
there lies the problem. How do I know it's not you?
My fights have never been direct with you. And to be honest, I have no quarrel with you. It was always just business. And my business is complete. I was just following orders, always. And then the orders became too much, and so the top, the head of the snake, if you will, had to be removed, and you did that. Quite handily.
So you followed orders and she followed yours?
No. She followed her own. I would tell her what she wanted to hear, because even I couldn't control her. If I could control her, believe me, I would have kept her alive. She'd be much more useful to me.
Rachel Hart.
A very unfortunate loss.
You're telling me she did that just for fun?
Yet to you.
Convenient that it happened so soon after our interaction. If you want to have a treaty and you want to be frank and you want to have a working relationship moving forward, at least until we can get rid of the plant problem, be frank, Mr. Baitman.
I relayed that I knew what you were. That I knew that the werewolves had returned. She took matters into her hands from there. She's not, or was not, dumb.
She'll grip at the side of her chair and look over to Lucas.
Terms. Do you want us to deal with Pentex? We need iron. That's a deal. A singular, one-for-one deal. You want peace. That's a different deal.
Certainly.
The friends that Pentex brought into town. Faces, locations.
There's an apartment complex not far from the airport. I know you know where it is. A few of yours have been snooping around. That's where they were staying, but they have been in and out of town since. It seems that they have business in multiple locations. But that is where they reside most of the time. They also head to the plant at Piney Point. As for faces, I can try to get that information for you. But they usually try to obscure their identities. I'm not allowed to ask questions. Again, you have to understand I do not have the upper hand with them. I don't like not having the upper hand. I am as hesitant to have this meeting as you are. But I could just take a well-deserved nap and wait this out. But I'd prefer not to.
You're right. I don't think you will. I think you have too much of an attachment to this promotion that you have now.
It took a long time.
Her eyes will dart up at him. Chloe, Jackson, Caleb, Mia, Rachel, Aiden. You want me to believe that all of them were her, and you had absolutely nothing to do with it, and you were just following orders. I find it very convenient that you've gotten into the position that you're in now.
You want to compare death pools, Miss Weiss? What good does that do us?
The difference is you don't give a shit.
No,
You don't give a
don't.
shit about anyone. All of those people are because of you. You want to make this deal happen? You want to give us iron? You want to have a treaty? We can have a treaty. And we'll take care of Pentex and we'll take care of your problem. But once that problem's gone, you're right up next on the list. You can have your treaty. You can have your treaty until we take care of the plants. Until both of our problems is gone. But you're the first problem. We can make that deal. Or we can walk away and go our separate ways. Let's be frank, Mr. Baitman. The moment we take care of your problem, that treaty's not going to mean anything. It's not going to mean a damn thing to you. So we might as well just get to the point. You give us iron, we take care of the plants, we take care of your Pentex problem. And then we leave it. And whatever comes next, comes next.
You keep calling it my problem. If it's not a problem for you, why are you here?
Because it is our problem. It's our problem because we're doing it to help. It's a problem for you specifically. We're fixing a problem. We would be fixing your problem. That's the difference. Because that's our job. And all you care about is yourself.
I could fix my problem with 2 words right now, but I promised no tricks.
And I'm bringing no tricks. I'm bringing you the deal. I'm bringing you a counter offer. Take it or leave it.
You want to blame me for your bad decisions and poor leadership? We have a deal.
She'll kick the chair out and just storm out.
Lucas will stand up slowly and look at the other one and then look back at Baitman. Mr. Baitman, there's something that you should understand about us. You live a long time, and you're right, there's a lot of problems you can avoid. And we don't. Most of us don't even live a fraction of what your kind lives. But with that shortness of time comes a conviction you don't have. And while you may have tricks and we may have tricks, there is a certain part of us that when you push too far, it doesn't matter what tricks you have. Because when it comes over us, we can't even stop each other.
Tell Jester Mia's the happiest she's ever been.
Do I hear that?
No, you stormed out.
Okay, I just didn't know how quiet the doors were.
I'll tell her. Me and Jester have an old promise. I think it's time that we renewed it. You have a lovely night. Although, I think Aspen came out better than the date department for this particular trip.
I'm sure she did.
Then I'll head out.
As the 2 of you leave, heading out down the stairs, out into the armature works, you can see that restaurateurs are closing up shop. You have a moment, the 2 of you, as you head towards the bike parked outside in the parking lot. If there's anything you want to say before we call the session to a close for the evening.
Lucas will put his hands in his pockets and just kind of watch Aspen.
She'll get to the exit door, like from the building, and just stand there and just stare at it.
Not right now.
He's right there.
Mm. Oh, yeah, he is. There's some creative things that come to my mind too, but you have to be better than him. even if your anger is righteous, and it is, you have to be better than him.
I know I'm better than him, Lucas. That's not the problem.
Should let that out more often.
It's not my best look.
No, I think it looks fantastic on you.
She'll give a little side smirk. Shut up. Let's go.
Do you?
What's going through both of your minds after this meeting with Baitman and the deal that is struck? Aspen, we'll start with you.
She got information, which gives her a little bit of solace in the fact that she had to look that man in the face and talk to him. She learned about other wolves being here. She learned about some of the issues that he was having specifically with them. So she got some information, but everything in every fiber of her bones being, every bit of her just wants to turn around and walk back into that building. But she gets on the bike and she leaves with Lucas.
Lucas.
Lucas is smiling at Aspen every time he can catch a glance at her. He's really happy with the way she handled herself in that. But he does believe there was an earnest request there. And he's going to try to figure out a way to make it work out in their favor and not in Bateman's favor.
The friend of my enemy, or the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That friendship can only last so long because they are still an enemy, especially when they were your original enemy. A deal with the devil, indeed. This is where our story comes to a close this evening, but not without one last scene. This scene takes us across the bay. It takes us to a preserve across the bay, deep, deep, deep within a swampy preserve, where wooden walkways move across swampland. Ever since the cairn was opened, the ancient cairn built by a long-forgotten tribe, a tribe of cairn builders, the greatest cairn builders Gaia has ever known. One of the things that tribe was known for was its relation to the other shifting creatures. So in this swamp, across the bridge from Tampa, a long sleeping, shifting creature awakens again. As the Mokale surfaces in its gator form, its lizardy eyes blinking, it hears the call from the long-forgotten cairn. It hears the call of Turtle, and and it smiles. And this is where our session comes to a close. Thank you so much to these amazing players. Thank you to everybody watching at home. Go follow St. Pete by Night on all of that social media you see down below, and come join our community by following that Discord link where you could be a part of our community. We would love to have you join us, so please do so, and stay tuned. Go check out our YouTube channel because we've got an episode of Hellhounds coming out this Friday. We'll be back with another episode of Rage Across Tampa on Tuesday at 10 p.m. So come check out all the amazing content we have to offer. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a lovely night, everyone.